Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien delegates argue about humans again. The Galactic Council chamber was huge and round with seats going up like stairs in a circle. Bright lights shone down from the ceiling making. Everything looked harsh and unfriendly. Jake had been coming to these meetings for 8 years now and nothing ever changed. The Veltar ambassador stood at the center speaking platform waving his 4 blue arms around like he was conducting music. His voice was high and whiny as it came through the translator device in Jake's ear. "The humans continue to break our rules," the alien said. "They build ships with too many weapons. They take resources from space without asking permission. They make too many babies and spread to too many worlds." Jake wanted to laugh but kept his face blank. The Veltar lived on a world where nothing dangerous ever happened. Their biggest predator was something like a rabbit. They had never fought a real war or faced anything that could actually hurt them. Yet here they were telling humans how to live. Other aliens nodded their heads or made clicking sounds to show they agreed. The snake-like Kethron representative raised up on his coils. "Human military ships are 3 times stronger than what we allow for defense," he hissed. They refuse to limit their population growth. Their mining operations strip entire asteroid belts clean in months instead of the approved decades-long harvesting we require. Jake shifted in his seat. The truth was that human ships were stronger because humans knew what real danger looked like. Earth had taught them the universe was not a safe place. Every human child grew up knowing that their world could kill them in 1,000 different ways. Storms that could level cities, animals that hunted in packs, diseases that jumped between species, earthquakes that split the ground open. The aliens came from gentle worlds, where the biggest worry was running out of their favorite food or having a cloudy day. They made rules based on their soft, safe lives and expected everyone else to follow them. The human colonies in Sector 7 have exceeded their population limits by 40%, continued another alien. This one looked like a walking tree with eyes. They refused to relocate surplus population to approved worlds. Jake remembered visiting those colonies last year. Families who had worked for generations to build something beautiful. Children who had never known any home but the worlds their grandparents had carved out of hostile wilderness. And the aliens wanted to force them to abandon everything and move to some other planet. Just because a computer said there were too many of them, the Centaurian delegate stood up slowly. She was old and had always been more reasonable than the others. "Perhaps we should consider that human expansion serves the galaxy well," she said in her deep voice. "When the Outer Rim pirates attacked our shipping lanes last year, it was human military vessels that stopped them. When the plague hit the mining colonies in Sector 12, human medical teams saved millions of lives. A Veltar in the upper seats made a rude noise. Of course they helped. They caused half the problems in the first place. Human aggression attracts conflict like metal attracts magnets." Jake felt his hands tighten into fists under the table. Human aggression, that was their favorite phrase. As if defending yourself when attacked was somehow wrong. As if being strong enough to help others made you the bad guy. The truth was that most galactic species had forgotten how to fight because they had never needed to learn. When real trouble came, they called humans to handle it. When pirates raided their worlds, they begged human fleets to save them. When natural disasters struck, they needed human rescue teams because their own people did not know how to work in dangerous conditions, but when the crisis was over, they went back to complaining about human military strength and expansion. The morning session dragged on for 3 hours. The same complaints, the same demands, the same threats to impose new restrictions on human activity. Jake gave the same careful diplomatic responses he had been giving for years. Yes, Earth would consider the Council's concerns. Yes, humanity valued their relationship with the galactic community. Yes, they would try to find ways to address the issues raised. All lies. Earth had stopped listening to the Council's demands. Years ago, during the lunch break, Jake walked outside the Council building to the observation deck. The planet Haven was supposed to be neutral ground, but even here he could feel the stares and whispers following him. Humans were taller and broader than most galactic species. Their eyes were set forward like predators instead of on the sides. Like prey animals? Even when they tried to be friendly, many aliens found them frightening. His aide Kelly Brooks found him looking out at the city below. She was young and still believed that diplomacy could solve everything. "The afternoon session is about to start, sir," she said. "The Kethron want to propose new limits on human ship construction." Jake nodded and followed her back inside. He had been expecting this. Intelligence reports said the Council had been working on a new package of restrictions for months. They wanted to cut human military strength by 60% and force the evacuation of colonies in what they called disputed space. The afternoon session was worse than the morning. Speaker after speaker stood up to talk about the human threat. They used words like aggressive and dangerous and expansion. They showed charts and graphs proving that humans were growing too, fast and taking too much space. Finally, the Veltar chairman called for the vote. All in favor of Resolution 847 regarding enhanced restrictions on human military and colonial activities. Lights began blinking around the chamber as delegates cast their votes. Jake watched the tally appear on his screen. 437 in favor, 12 against. 28 abstentions. The restrictions were worse than anything they had proposed before. Human fleets would be cut to half their current size. New colonies would be banned for 50 years. Existing settlements in 12-star systems would have to be abandoned within 2 years. Jake stood up as the chairman called his name. Everyone expected him to give another speech about how Earth was disappointed but would work with the Council to find a solution. They expected him to ask for compromises or the vote. Instead, Jake pulled out his personal datapad and read the message that had arrived that morning on the fastest courier ship Earth could send. The United Earth government formally withdraws from all Galactic Council treaties effective immediately. His voice was calm and clear. We are terminating our membership in this organization. We are ending all cooperation agreements with Council member species. We are canceling all joint military operations and research projects. The chamber went completely silent. Even the translator devices seemed to stop working for a moment. Jake continued reading. Earth has spent 30 years trying to work within your system. We have accepted your limits on our growth. We have followed your rules even when they made no sense. We have helped you fight your battles and solve your problems. In return, you treat us like dangerous children who cannot be trusted. He looked up from the datapad and swept his eyes around the chamber. We are done asking for permission to exist. We are done accepting blame for being strong enough to survive in a dangerous universe. We are done pretending that your fear of US is our responsibility to fix. The Veltar chairman was making choking noises. You cannot simply leave the council. There are procedures, there are obligations. Watch us, Jake said. He gathered his papers and stood up. Kelly looked confused and frightened but followed his lead. As they walked toward the exit, the chamber erupted in noise. Aliens were shouting and clicking and making whatever sounds they made when upset. Some were demanding he come back. Others were threatening consequences. Jake paused at the door and turned back one last time. For 30 years, Earth has tried to be good neighbors. That ends today. The next time we meet, it will be on our terms, not yours. The heavy doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. Captain Lisa Park was studying star charts in her ready room when the priority message arrived. The UES Defender was 3 days out from the Kepler system hunting pirates who had been attacking merchant ships. Her crew of 120 included 30 aliens who had served with distinction for years. The encrypted message from Earthfleet Command was short and direct. All human military vessels were ordered to immediately cease joint operations with alien forces. All non-human crew members were to be transferred to council ships at the nearest opportunity. All human assets were to return to Earth-controlled space within 30 days. Lisa read the message 3 times before she believed it. She had been expecting some kind of response to the diplomatic crisis, but nothing this extreme. The withdrawal from the Galactic Council was one thing, but this meant ending decades of military cooperation. She called her first officer, Lieutenant Commander Jake Stevens, to her office. He was a good man who had worked his way up from enlisted ranks. His face went pale as he read the orders. "Captain, this means we have to transfer Commander Zexhai and the others," he said quietly. Zexhai was their tactical officer, a Thaxian who had saved the ship twice in the past year. "Some of these people have been serving on human ships longer than I have," Lisa nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. Her communications officer, Ensign Kira Patel, worked alongside Velthan, an old Centaurian who had taught her everything she knew about deep space communications. In engineering, Chief Petty Officer Danny Cole had a working partnership with 3 Andromedan specialists that had kept the ship running through impossible conditions. "Orders are orders," Lisa said, though the words felt like sand in her mouth. "Send word to all department heads. Senior staff meeting in 1 hour." The meeting was the hardest thing Lisa had ever done as a captain. She looked around the table at faces she had come to trust and respect. Human and alien officers who had bled together in combat and celebrated together after victories. Now she had to tell them it was over. "As of this morning, Earth has withdrawn from all Council treaties," she began. "Fleet Command has ordered the immediate separation of all mixed crews. Our alien crew members will be transferred to Council vessels within 48 hours. The silence was complete. Commander Zexhai's 4 eyes blinked slowly. His blue skin seemed to grow darker. "Captain, may I ask if this decision comes from you or from higher authority?" "From Earth itself, Commander," Lisa replied. "This is not my choice," Ensign Patel raised her hand slightly. "What about ongoing operations, Captain? We are supposed to meet up with the Council Task Force tomorrow to coordinate the anti-piracy sweep. All joint operations are cancelled immediately." Lisa said, "We return to Earth space as soon as crew transfers are complete?" Over the next 2 days, Lisa watched her ship family break apart. The non-human crew members packed their belongings and prepared to leave. There were no angry words or bitter accusations. Everyone understood that politics had reached down to destroy something good. Velthan found Lisa on the bridge during the night shift. The old Centaurian moved slowly, but his mind was still sharp. "Captain, I want you to know that serving with humans has been the greatest honor of my long life," he said. "Your species faces the universe with courage that inspires us all." Lisa felt tears in her eyes. "I wish things could be different. Perhaps they will be again someday," Velthan replied. "But for now, your people must do what they believe is right." The transfer shuttles arrived from the Council cruiser Harmony. Lisa stood in the shuttle bay and shook hands with each departing crew member. Commander Zexhai was the last to leave. "Captain, if war comes between our peoples, I hope we do not meet on opposite sides," he said. "So do I, Commander," Lisa replied. "So do I." After the shuttles departed, Lisa felt the ship become empty, even though they still had 90 human crew members aboard. The Defender had been designed for mixed crews. Now it felt hollow. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On the Research Station Deep Space 7, Dr. Helen Kim watched as her alien colleagues packed up 20 years of joint scientific work. Projects that had been close to breakthrough discoveries were abandoned overnight. "We were so close to solving the dark matter equations," said Dr. Thelvin, a Rigelian physicist who had become Helen's closest friend. "Another few months and we would have changed how the galaxy understands the universe." Helen helped her pack the last of her equipment. "Send me your notes through private channels," she whispered. "Maybe we can continue the work separately and share results." Dr. Thelvin's large eyes showed surprise, then gratitude. "That would be illegal under the new separation protocols." "Only if we get caught," Helen said with a sad smile, on the industrial world of New Pittsburgh. Factory manager Tony Walsh had to shut down half his production lines. The advanced manufacturing plant had been a joint venture between human engineering and alien technology. Without the Veltar technical specialists, the complex machinery could not operate. 40,000 jobs lost overnight, Tony told his supervisor over the com. "We can retrain human workers, but it will take 2 years to reach current production levels," The supervisor's face was grim on the screen. Multiply that across every joint facility in human space. The economic disruption is going to be massive. But it was not just about economics. On the colony world of Haven's Rest, human and alien families had been neighbors for generations. Children had grown up together not caring about species differences. Now the aliens were packing up and leaving for council territory. 8-year-old Amy Chun watched her best friend Kelry load boxes into a transport vehicle. Kelry was a young Andromedan whose parents worked at the local hospital. They had played together every day for 3 years. "Why do you have to go?" Amy asked. Kelry's translated voice was sad. "Our peoples cannot live together anymore. The grown-ups say it is not safe." Amy's mother Sandra came outside and knelt down beside the girls. She was trying not to cry. Sometimes adults make decisions that hurt everyone. But that does not mean the friendship was not real. The transport lifted off carrying Kelry and her family away. Amy stood in the yard waving until it disappeared into the sky. All across human space, the great untangling continued. Trade agreements were canceled. Joint defense pacts were voided. Mixed settlements that had thrived for decades were split apart as people chose sides. Captain Lisa Park received new orders as the Defender crossed into the Sol system. Instead of returning to their home base, they were directed to a classified facility in the asteroid belt. The coordinates led them to what looked like empty space until they got close enough to see the hidden shipyard. The facility was enormous, but completely concealed from long-range sensors. Dozens of ships were under construction, including designs Lisa had never seen before. These were not the multi-purpose vessels built for peacekeeping and exploration. These were warships built for one purpose only. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Stevens as they docked. "How long has this been here?" Lisa studied the construction schedules on her screen. According to this, at least 15 years. Earth has been preparing for this day for a very long time. A shuttle brought Admiral Ben Crawford aboard to brief Lisa and her senior staff. He was a hard-faced man who had spent his career planning for the day when diplomacy failed. "Welcome to Project Stronghold," he said as holographic displays showed the scope of the operation. "For 20 years we have been building the infrastructure to support an independent human military, hidden shipyards in 12 systems, weapons, research facilities that the Council never knew existed, supply depots that can support fleet operations for years." The scale was breathtaking. While Earth had been playing nice with the galactic community, they had also been preparing for the possibility that playing nice would not be enough. "Your ship will be retrofitted with new weapons systems and enhanced armor," Admiral Crawford continued. "Your crew will be retrained for ship-to-ship combat operations. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when humans stop holding back." Lisa looked around at her officers. They were scared but also excited. For years they had followed rules written by beings who had never faced real danger. Now they were free to be what Earth had made them to be. The withdrawal was complete, but it was only the beginning. Admiral Ben Crawford stood in the command center of the hidden military complex deep inside the asteroid belt. The room was carved out of solid rock and filled with screens showing the progress of humanity's greatest secret. For 20 years, this place had not existed on any official maps or records. Now it was the heart of Earth's real military power. General Amy Foster walked up to him carrying a datapad full of production reports. She had been overseeing the construction of humanity's new fleet since the project began. Her hair was gray now, and her face showed the stress of keeping such a massive secret for so long. "The first wave of heavy cruisers will be ready in 3 months," she said. "The battleships need another 6 months, but they will be worth the wait. Each one has enough firepower to destroy a small moon." Ben studied the holographic display that filled the center of the room. It showed the locations of secret shipyards hidden throughout human space. Some were built inside asteroids like this one. Others were concealed in the outer system of colonies where Council inspectors never bothered to look. A few were actually underwater on ocean worlds where orbital scans could not detect them. What about the dreadnoughts? Ben asked. Amy smiled for the first time in weeks. The first two will launch next year. They are bigger than anything the galaxy has ever seen. The main guns can punch through any known shield system, and the armor can withstand direct hits from Council weapons. Dr. Helen Kim joined them at the display. She had been transferred from the research station to lead the weapons development program. Her team had been working around the clock to give humanity every possible advantage. The plasma lance technology is ready for deployment, she reported. Our tests show it has 3 times the range and 5 times the destructive power of standard Council weapons. The energy shields we developed can absorb impacts that would vaporize alien ships. Ben nodded with satisfaction. While the Council had been complaining about human aggression, they had completely missed the real story. Earth had been preparing for this moment since the first time aliens told them they were too dangerous to be trusted. The truth was that most galactic species had not fought a real war in centuries. They used their military for police work and rescue operations. Their weapons were designed to disable rather than destroy. Their ships were built for show and comfort rather than combat effectiveness. Humans were different. Earth had taught them that the universe was full of things that wanted to kill you. They built their ships like fortresses and their weapons like the tools of death they were meant to be. Colonel Rick Stone entered the command center with his latest intelligence reports. He had spent 10 years building a network of human agents throughout Council space. People who worked on alien worlds and stations gathering information about military capabilities and political decisions. The Council fleet deployments have not changed in the past 5 years, he reported. Most of their ships are spread out on patrol duty or stationed at major worlds for defense. They have no experience with coordinated fleet actions involving more than a dozen vessels. Rick activated another section of the display showing Council military positions. Their command structure is designed for peacetime operations. Every major decision has to be approved by committee. In a fast-moving battle situation, they will not be able to adapt quickly enough. Ben studied the alien positions with the Predators. The Council had superior numbers, but their ships were scattered across thousands of star systems. They had never needed to concentrate their forces because they had never faced a real threat. That was about to change. What about their weapons? Technology? Ben asked. Dr. Helen brought up technical specifications stolen by human agents. Their energy weapons are designed for precision rather than raw power. They prefer to disable enemy ships rather than destroy them. Their missiles are slow and their targeting systems assume the enemy will not take evasive action. She highlighted the weaknesses in red. Most importantly, their shields are designed to stop energy weapons but not physical projectiles. Our kinetic penetrators will go right through their defenses. General Amy showed them the latest production figures. We now have enough ships to match Council forces in any single system. If we concentrate our fleets, we can achieve local superiority of 3-to-1 in our target areas. The plan had been decades in the making. While Earth publicly complained about Council restrictions, they had secretly been building the infrastructure to break free. Hidden mining operations had gathered the raw materials. Concealed research facilities had developed new technologies. Ghost shipyards had built the vessels that would carry humanity to victory. Captain Lisa Park arrived at the complex for her briefing on the new ship modifications. Her old cruiser Defender was being fitted with armor and weapons that would make it deadlier than anything in the Council fleet. The new plasma cannons have been integrated into your existing weapon systems, explained Chief Engineer Danny Cole. Your missile launchers now fire smart warheads that can penetrate any known shield frequency. The hull has been reinforced with compressed metal alloys that can absorb tremendous punishment. Lisa walked through her ship, marveling at the changes. The Defender had been built as a patrol vessel designed to chase pirates and rescue stranded ships. Now it looked like something that could fight a small war by itself. Her new weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Morgan, was running tests on the plasma lance systems. Captain, these guns have enough power to cut a battleship in half, she said with obvious excitement. The targeting computers can track and engage 12 targets simultaneously. In the ship's briefing room, Lisa met with her senior staff to go over their new mission parameters. They were no longer peacekeepers or explorers. They were the tip of humanity's spear aimed at the heart of galactic civilization. Our job is to demonstrate that the age of alien control over human affairs is over, Lisa told her officers. We are going to hit them so hard and so fast that they will never again think of humans as junior partners to be managed. Lieutenant, Commander Jake Stevens raised a concern. Captain, what about civilian casualties? Some of these targets are near populated areas. Lisa had been wrestling with the same question. Our orders are to focus on military and infrastructure targets only. We are not interested in conquering alien worlds or ruling over other species. We just want them to leave us alone. The preparation continued day and night. Human crews trained on new weapon systems and battle tactics. Engineers worked to complete ship construction ahead of schedule. Intelligence agents gathered final details about Council defensive positions. Meanwhile, the galaxy watched nervously as humanity pulled back behind their borders. Council leaders assumed the humans were sulking and would eventually come back to negotiate. Some alien governments even prepared generous offers to lure Earth back into the galactic community. They had no idea what was really coming. Admiral Ben Crawford held his final planning meeting with the fleet commanders who would lead the first strike. These were experienced officers who had spent their careers preparing for the day when talking would no longer be enough. Remember that we are not just fighting for military victory, he told them. We are establishing a new relationship between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. After tomorrow, they will never again see us as subjects to be controlled or problems to be managed. The holographic display showed the 17 target systems that would be hit simultaneously. Each strike force knew exactly what to destroy and what to leave untouched. The message had to be clear but not genocidal. The Council has had 30 years to learn that humans are not like other species, Ben continued. We tried patience and diplomacy and compromise. Now they get to learn what happens when Deathworlders stop playing nice. The fleet commanders returned to their ships to make final preparations. Across human space, hundreds of vessels prepared to jump to hyperspace. The largest military operation in human history was about to begin. Earth had spent 20 years building toward this moment. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do when they stopped holding back. Captain Ryan Wells watched the countdown timer reach 0 on his command screen. Around him, the bridge crew of the heavy cruiser UES Relentless prepared for combat. They had been waiting in the outer system of Kepler Prime for 6 hours, maintaining radio silence and running on minimal power to avoid detection. Jump drive ready, Captain, reported Navigator Lieutenant Tom Bradley. All ships in formation and standing by for your signal. Ryan looked at the tactical display showing the positions of his strike force. 12 human warships hung in the darkness of space, ready to unleash 20 years of pent-up frustration on the Council military base orbiting the Veltar. Homeworld. At exactly 1400 hours Galactic Standard Time, Ryan gave the order that changed everything. All ships execute jump. Operation Breakout is now active. Space twisted around the human fleet as they dropped out of hyperspace directly above Kepler Prime. The Veltar orbital defense station floated below them like a giant metal flower with docking arms extending in all directions. It was supposed to be one of the strongest military installations in Council space. The aliens had exactly 37 seconds to realize they were under attack. Contact the station, Ryan ordered. Give them one chance to surrender. Communications Officer Ensign Maria Santos opened a channel. Veltar Defense Command, this is Captain Wells of the United Earthship Relentless. You have 60 seconds to evacuate all personnel and abandon your station. This is your only warning. The reply came back in shocked clicks and whistles that the translator rendered as confused babbling. The Veltar commander was asking what humans were doing in their system and demanding explanations that Ryan had no intention of giving. Time's up, Ryan said after exactly 1 minute. All ships open fire. The space around Kepler Prime lit up like a newborn star as human weapons opened fire. Plasma lances carved through the void in brilliant blue streams. Kinetic projectiles, accelerated to incredible speeds, slammed into alien shields. Smart missiles twisted and dodged through defensive fire to find their targets, the Veltar. Station's shields flared bright yellow as they absorbed the first volley. The aliens had built their defenses to handle pirate attacks and minor conflicts. They were not prepared for the focused firepower of ships designed to fight peer opponents. "Their shields are down to 60%, reported Tactical Officer Lieutenant Sarah Morgan. "Continuing bombardment." Ryan watched the alien station try to fight back. Their weapons were precise and elegant but completely inadequate for the situation. Energy beams that could disable a small raider had no effect on human military armor. Their missile defense systems were overwhelmed by the sheer number of incoming projectiles. Within 5 minutes, the battle was over. The Veltar station broke apart in a series of controlled explosions as its power systems overloaded. Escape pods scattered in all directions, carrying the surviving crew to safety. Ryan had no interest in killing defenseless beings, but he needed to make sure the message was clear. "Scan for any military vessels in the system," he ordered. Lieutenant Morgan studied her displays. "2 patrol cruisers near the 4th planet, Captain. They are trying to escape to hyperspace. Disable their drives, but do not destroy them," Ryan said. "I want survivors to carry word back to the Council." Similar scenes played out across 17 star systems as human strike forces hit Council military installations with devastating precision. At the Kethrun Naval Base near Rigel, Captain Lisa Park led her reformed squadron against orbital shipyards that had been building Council vessels for 3 centuries. "Multiple targets identified," reported her new weapons officer as the Defender. "Dropped out of hyperspace. 12 ships under construction and support facilities for thousands of workers." Lisa studied the tactical situation. The shipyard was massive but lightly defended. Most Council military bases relied on their remote locations for protection rather than heavy weapons. "Evacuate all personnel first, then destroy the industrial capacity." The human ships broadcast warnings in every known language, giving workers exactly 10 minutes to reach escape pods and evacuation shuttles. Lisa watched thousands of alien civilians flee the doomed facility. She felt bad about destroying their workplace, but this was about sending a message that could not be ignored. "All civilian craft clear of the target zone, Captain," reported her communications officer. "Fire at will," Lisa ordered. The ancient shipyards died in minutes under the concentrated fire of human weapons. Fusion reactors went critical, sending pillars of flame into space. Construction gantries twisted and collapsed as support structures melted. 3 centuries of Council naval tradition turned into glowing debris. At the research station orbiting Centauri 7, Commander Jake Stevens led a boarding party to secure classified military technology. The facility surrendered without firing a shot when human Marines appeared in their corridors. "We are here for military research only," Jake announced over the station's communication system. "All civilian personnel will be allowed to evacuate safely." The Centaurian scientists offered no resistance as human soldiers methodically searched their laboratories. Most of the research was obsolete by human standards, but there were a few interesting discoveries about shield technology and long-range sensors. Dr. Thelvin found Jake in her former laboratory looking through her research notes. "Commander, I never expected to see you again under these circumstances." Jake felt uncomfortable facing the alien scientist who had worked alongside humans for so many years. "Doctor, I want you to know this is not personal. We have no quarrel with individual Council members." "Then why destroy everything we have built together?" she asked sadly. "Because you would not let us build it as equals," Jake replied. "For 30 years we tried to be partners. You insisted on treating us like dangerous children who needed constant supervision." Across the galaxy, the coordinated strikes continued with devastating effectiveness. Human forces hit communication centers that coordinated Council military operations. They destroyed supply depots that supported alien fleets. They captured research facilities working on advanced weapons technology. Most importantly, they did it all with surgical precision that avoided civilian casualties while demonstrating overwhelming military superiority. On Earth, Admiral Ben Crawford monitored the operation from the secure command center buried deep under the Rocky Mountains. Status reports flowed in from Strike Force commanders as each target was neutralized exactly on schedule. Kepler Prime Orbital Station destroyed, reported the duty officer. Rigel shipyards eliminated. Centauri Research Facility secured. Objectives achieved with minimal casualties. Ben studied the real-time intelligence feeds showing Council reaction across the galaxy. Alien military units were scrambling to respond, but they had no idea where the next attack might come from. Their command structure was paralyzed by the speed and scope of the human offensive. Any word from the Council leadership? Ben asked. Emergency sessions have been called on Haven and 3 other neutral worlds, the communications officer replied. Initial reports suggest complete shock and confusion about human capabilities. That had been the point. For decades, Council species had assumed they understood human military strength based on the ships and weapons Earth displayed publicly. They had no idea about the secret programs that had been developing advanced technology and building hidden fleets. The demonstration continued for exactly 12 hours. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the human offensive stopped. Strike forces withdrew to predetermined positions just outside Council space and waited. The message had been delivered with devastating clarity. In those 12 hours, humanity had destroyed 30% of Council military infrastructure in the sectors bordering human space. They had demonstrated weapons technology decades ahead of anything aliens possessed. Most importantly, they had shown perfect coordination and tactical planning that proved this was not a desperate gamble but a carefully prepared campaign. Captain Ryan Wells received the withdrawal order as his task force finished destroying the last Veltar patrol base in the outer system. All ships return to Phase Line Alpha, came the message from Fleet Command. Mission accomplished. As the human ships jumped back to hyperspace, they left behind a galaxy that would never again underestimate the species from the Deathworld called Earth. The Council now knew that their former junior partners had become the dominant military power in local space. The first strike was complete, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened on Haven Station 3 days after the human attacks. The great chamber that had once been filled with confident alien voices debating how to control humanity was now a place of fear and confusion. Representatives huddled in small groups whispering about the destruction they had witnessed. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked into the chamber flanked by Admiral Ben Crawford and a full military escort. The symbolism was deliberate and unmistakable. Where once Jake had sat alone at a small table reserved for junior members, now an entire section of seats had been cleared for the human delegation. The Veltar chairman stood at the center podium, but his forearms shook as he tried to call the session to order. The Council recognizes the representative from Earth, he said in a voice that cracked with strain. Jake stood slowly and looked around the chamber. Every alien eye was focused on him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. They wanted him to apologize or explain or offer some way back to the old relationship where they made the rules and humans followed them. Honored delegates, Jake began in a calm, clear voice. For 30 years, Earth accepted your authority over human affairs. We followed your population limits. We accepted your restrictions on our military forces. We asked permission before expanding to new worlds. We tried to be good galactic citizens while you treated us like dangerous children who could not be trusted with adult responsibilities. The chamber was completely silent. Even the translator devices seemed to hold their breath. That time is over, Jake continued. The age of humanity asking for scraps at your table has ended. We are not here to negotiate or compromise or find middle ground. We are here to inform you how things will work from now on. The Veltar chairman tried to interrupt. Ambassador, the Council is prepared to discuss new arrangements. No. Jake's single word cut through the alien's plea like a blade. You do not seem to understand the situation. We are not asking for your permission anymore. We are telling you what we have decided. Jake activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed the galaxy with clearly marked territorial boundaries drawn in brilliant blue light. These are the new borders. Human space is sovereign territory. Our ships will travel freely through any system we choose. Our colonies will expand according to our needs, not your arbitrary quotas. Angry chittering and roars erupted from various sections of the chamber, but Jake continued speaking over the noise. Any attempt to interfere with human operations will be met with immediate military response. Any attack on human personnel or facilities will result in the complete destruction of the aggressor's military capabilities. We are not interested in ruling your worlds or controlling your governments, but we will no longer tolerate interference in our affairs. The Kethron representative raised up on his coils. You cannot simply declare independence from galactic law, he hissed. There are treaties and agreements that have governed civilization for centuries. Admiral Crawford stepped forward for the first time. His uniform was crisp and his bearing showed decades of military command. Those treaties were written by species who had never faced existential threats, he said. You made rules based on your comfortable, safe worlds and expected everyone else to follow them regardless of their actual needs. He gestured to the tactical display showing the results of the human strikes. 3 days ago, we demonstrated what happens when those rules no longer serve our interests. 30% of your military infrastructure in our region was eliminated in 12 hours. We did it with minimal casualties because we are not interested in genocide. But do not mistake our restraint for weakness. The old Centaurian delegate struggled to her feet. She had always been more reasonable than the others, but even she looked shaken. Admiral, surely there is room for negotiation. The galaxy has benefited from human participation in joint operations and research projects. Those benefits can continue, Jake replied, but on equal terms. We are willing to cooperate with any species that treats us as sovereign equals. We will respond to requests for assistance based on our own interests and judgments. We will participate in joint ventures that serve mutual purposes. He paused and looked directly at the Centaurian. But we will never again accept oversight or limitations imposed by beings who think they know better than we do what is good for humanity. The session continued for hours as alien delegates struggled to understand the new reality. Some threatened retaliation. Others pleaded for a return to the old system. A few pragmatic voices suggested accepting the human demands and trying to salvage what remained of galactic cooperation. Jake listened to it all with patience born of 30 years of diplomatic experience. He had heard these same arguments countless times before. The difference was that now he had the power to simply ignore them. The Council fleet still outnumbers human forces, declared a Rigelian admiral. If we unite against this aggression, we can force you back to the negotiating table. Admiral Crawford smiled coldly. Please try. We have been planning for that possibility for 20 years. Your ships are designed for peacekeeping operations against pirates and rebels. Ours are built for peer-to-peer warfare. Your command structure requires committee approval for major decisions. Ours can adapt and respond in real time. He brought up technical specifications showing the capability gap between human and Council weapons. But more importantly, your fleet is scattered across thousands of star systems while ours can concentrate wherever we choose to fight. You would be facing us piecemeal while we enjoy local superiority in every engagement. The truth was devastating, and every military officer in the chamber knew it. The Council had superior numbers on paper, but they could never bring that strength to bear effectively. Meanwhile, the humans had demonstrated perfect coordination and overwhelming technological advantage. Dr. Helen Kim joined the human delegation to present the scientific implications. For decades, human researchers working on Council projects were required to share all discoveries while alien scientists kept their most sensitive research classified. We accepted that imbalance because we valued cooperation over fairness. She displayed charts showing technology transfer patterns. That arrangement also ends today. Future scientific collaboration will be based on genuine partnership, or it will not happen at all. We are prepared to share our advances with species that reciprocate fully and openly. The session finally ended when it became clear that no amount of debate would change the human position. Jake delivered his closing statement standing at the podium where, for 30 years, humans had been lectured about their failures and shortcomings. The galaxy spent 3 decades trying to manage humanity because you were afraid of what we might become if left to our own devices, he said. You were right to be afraid. We are the products of a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We are stronger and faster and more adaptable than most galactic species because Earth demanded nothing less for survival. He looked around the chamber at faces that showed fear and dawning understanding. But your fear was also your mistake. Instead of recognizing our strength and treating us as equals, you tried to control and limit us. You turned natural allies into enemies through your arrogance and condescension. Jake gathered his papers and prepared to leave. We tried cooperation, we tried compromise, we tried being the reasonable ones in the room. You mistook our patience for weakness and our restraint for inability. That mistake has consequences. As the human delegation walked out, the chamber remained silent except for the sound of their boots on the metal floor. Behind them, alien delegates sat in stunned recognition that their galaxy had changed forever. In the months that followed, a new equilibrium slowly emerged. Some council species chose confrontation and learned the hard way that human warnings were not empty threats. Others accepted the new reality and found that partnership with Earth was more profitable than the old system of imposed restrictions. Trade resumed, but on equal terms. Joint operations continued with humans as partners rather than junior participants. Research collaboration flourished when based on genuine mutual benefit rather than one-sided technology transfer. The galaxy had learned that when Deathworlders finally have enough, they do not just change the rules, they tear up the entire game, board and build a new one designed by those strong enough to survive whatever the universe throws at them.